Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tex. Today is Thursday, April 11th, 2019. I want to do a trade recap for you. I finally got a moment to put together a video for you. Last week was a crazy week. I only traded 2 days. I was working 10, sometimes 12-hour days on our rental house. I walked you guys through the house in a video on my channel I posted. So yeah, we're just about in the finishing phases of that. Floors go in next week, so hopefully we can get a tenant in there and kind of return to a bit of a normal schedule. But today, Roku was my main watch. I took two trades today, Roku and Apple. So I'll show you Apple after this. But what I was looking at on Roku is, 4 days ago, I guess, right here on this day, it gapped down pretty big on a downgrade. And it bottomed out down here at 58.35. So I marked that on my chart. And what I noticed is that all during pre-market, we were holding that 58.35. Now we did dip a little bit lower right here. We set in a pre-market low right here, but after hours and pre-market, we were really holding that 58.35. And quite frankly, I mean, Roku's a long ways away from the 9 EMA. It's kind of due for a bit of a retracement. So my thinking on this was that it should see a pop out of the gate and a push up into, you've got the 50 SMA right here on the daily chart, and then you've got the dash line. This is the 5 EMA. You've also got the previous open from the day on the gap down right here. And that's right where it topped out. So this area was my profit target on it. And right about that area is a pivot you can see sitting right here. So that was my main profit target on it. But what I wanted to see is I wanted to see the 58.35 or pre-market lows hold off of the open to initiate a position. And it just set up beautifully. You can see that right off of the open, we pushed down right here and we held pre-market lows to the T. As soon as I saw pre-market lows hold, I grabbed the 58 calls and I took my full position size because Roku has a tendency of having explosive moves right off of the open. And I knew that if that held, we should get a pretty explosive move up. And because of the, having such tight risk, I mean, if it had dropped a tick below that pre-market low, I would have just taken it off. I just decided I'm going to go ahead and take my entire position size in case we just explode up and don't really get an opportunity to add. So I literally just about bottom ticked that. As it lifted off of pre-market lows, I pulled the trigger. And what happened is we just ripped straight up. So if you'll notice, basically 3 1-minute candles going straight up, getting very extended away from the 9 EMA all the way down here, and also kind of getting out of the Keltner channels here. As we pushed up on this third 1-minute candle out of the Keltner channel here, I sold 25% of my position for almost about a 60% gain. Now, what I wanted to see is I wanted to see it pull back down to the VWAP and that hold. If VWAP cracked, I would have just taken the entire position off and it wouldn't have been that big of a winner. But VWAP did hold. Now, I didn't add back to my position here because I only sold 25% of my position up here. So I was still fine with the size I was holding for that move up to the pivot. I called this out in the chat room. I don't know if anyone actually took it, but Roku will hold the VWAP. It has a tendency of pulling back and holding the VWAP if it's going to trend up on the day. So ultimately the VWAP did hold, and then we just ripped up. I mean, only this one red candle here before we hit my main profit target here at the pivot. So as we pushed up through this pivot, I sold 50% of my position, and that was for about an 80% gain on that 50% of my position through that pivot. And now I'm only holding 25% of my position, just kind of lotto plays. And now I'm just kind of watching this price action here. So we start to hold the pivot here, and then this candle here, we start to, it looks like, all right, it looks like we're about to roll over here, but then we got sucked back up. Next candle opens here and we push up, but we can't hold it. We get stuffed back down. And I'm watching this. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be able to make it much higher. We're out of the Keltner channels. We're extended away from the 9 EMA, but I'm going to give it one more candle and see what happens. So the next candle opens here, rips up, and again gets stuffed back down and closes right here. So when I saw this, these two kind of bearish candles here with these long upper wicks, combined with the fact that we're extended away from the 9 EMA, we're outside of the Keltner channel, and I had already made, you know, my profit target on the day. I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to be greedy with this. I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm only holding 25% of my position at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and take the entire position off. So as we stuff back down here, and this candle opened here, and we started to roll over from there, I sold the last piece of my position for about 101% gain. So I don't know what the actual average is. I'm just going to guess, you know, like 75% return overall on my entire position. So really, really nice trade here on Roku. Really just kind of made my week. Really fantastic trade. Now, this is something that I do want to talk about, because as we go into Apple, I'm going to be talking about trading in that first 5 minutes. Roku is a little bit of an exception, okay? So I took Roku on the opening candle, okay? And the reason I took it is because I came in with a game plan. I wanted to see the 58.35 or pre-market lows hold support. Okay, and that's exactly what happened. So that's the reason that I took my full position size, because it offered such tight risk on the trade, and because I had confidence in that Roku would have a bit of a bounce today. I'm not saying that, you know, it's going to hold the balance. In fact, I believe it's selling off here. You can see it's given back pretty much everything at this point. But it will bounce, right? It's extended away from the 9 EMA here on the daily chart. It's got a gap here, right? So, I mean, these things, your trade plans come from the daily chart, and that's where my trade plan came from Roku, which gave me the confidence in initiating this trade plan and really following through with it. So, you know, Roku's a bit of an exception as far as when I take a trade in the first 5 minutes, I don't generally hold it for a very long time. Generally, the first 5 minutes is just for scalping because it's such high volatility. So Roku is an exception to that. But when I show you Apple, Apple is a perfect example of the way I normally trade in the first 5 minutes, okay? Now, the trade plan coming in this morning that Pat had talked about in the room was for Apple to wash out down to 200. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, 200 is a nice psychological whole number. I mean, it's a nice round 200, right? It's a big deal. 200 was also support for Apple, and you can see that there is a pivot sitting right here, right at the 200. Okay. Now I had actually marked, put this line on a level that was actually right at basically 200, 199.99. So Apple opened here. It initially pushed up and then rejected and washed out down to that 200 perfectly. Now, as it hit this 200 right here at this pivot and everything, three pieces of the puzzle, right? The support at 200, the psychological, you know, whole number, the pivot, as it tagged that and just kind of stalled and sat there for just a second, I went ahead and bought 10 contracts of the 200 calls on Apple with this week's expiration. And this is, you know, typically the way I'll trade the open in the first 5 minutes. It's just a scalp. All I was looking for is a retrace back up into the VWAP. And right here, you can see this long upper wick on this candle. We ripped straight up into the VWAP. And as we did so, I sold half my position. And I held on to the last half my position just in case we came up to test the previous close, the 50 EMA, or possibly the high of this opening candle. I really didn't think it would come all the way up here to pre-market highs. I believe pre-market highs was actually a little bit higher, but I didn't expect it to come that high. At most, I was thinking this area here. So as I sold half my position here, I'm still holding the last half in case we can push up and test the high or the previous close, most likely right here. This was realistically where I expected Apple to test, because you can also see that that would be a downtrend right here, right? If you drew a trend line. So if Apple came up in here, that right here in this area would have been the most that I would have expected to get from Apple. But we didn't. We ultimately just stopped here and then started to reject. So as we rejected, I had to mark it out of the last half of my position. So because I didn't sell it as it was pushing up, I didn't get the best fill on the last half of my position. Still profitable, but didn't make as much as I could have made if I had sold as it was pushing up. But you know, you've already paid yourself in the trade, so you've got to give it a chance to see if it can push up a little bit higher. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. It was only a trade. I was only in the trade for 1 minute, right? From the bottom to the top of this candle, that's a 1 minute candle. So in, out, right? That's typically the way I trade the first 5 minutes of trading, because it is so volatile. It's not for beginners, and it's just not for everyone. It may never be for you. That first 5 minutes of trading is very high volatility, and you've got to be in and out, in and out. You cannot hesitate, right? If you didn't get it right here at the 200, you missed the trade, because what happened? If you chased it up here, you know, it topped out here and then it ultimately rejected and came down, and now you have a losing trade. Or if you're not quick enough to pay yourself on the way up into the VWAP, and you get greedy and you want to hold it in case Apple rips and has a huge day, you're like, shit, I had it here. I want to see if I can hold it all day and see if we can really, you know, have a huge green day. You just can't do that in the first 5 minutes. So I usually scalp that first 5 minutes in and out, and then I wait till after 5 minutes for the chart to kind of set up and see what the trend is doing. The exception, and there are exceptions, again, is with Roku, and just a combination of factors with high confidence from the daily chart that Roku would have an explosive move up, and just a trade plan coming into the open, knowing exactly where I was going to get in and where I was going to get out. And when it sets up for you beautifully according to your trade plan, it just makes it a lot easier to initiate the trade. If you're hesitating to take a trade, it's because you're scared. You're scared because you're scared to lose. You don't want to lose money, right? Of course. You may not think so, but you're scared of being wrong as well. Those are the biggest reasons that you don't take a trade. And also not having a trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, you're going to be scared because you don't know what the hell you're going to do. As far as if the stock does this, you don't know what you're going to do, or if it does that, you don't know what you're going to do, right? You've got to have a trade plan, even coming into the open. So initiating or formulating a trade plan will help you to initiate a trade, will help you to just take that trade. And then also, if you're find that you're hesitating, you're not taking a trade, even if you have a trade plan, then most likely it's because you're considering taking too much size. Okay, so if you're thinking about taking a lot of size, you're thinking about swinging for the fences and having a huge trade. You see all these people who are just killing it. They're making tons of money, and then it's basically FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. You want to be making that money too. And so what can happen is, even if you formulate a trade plan and something sets up beautifully to your trade plan, you end up staring at it like a deer in the headlights and you don't take the trade. And why didn't you take the trade? You had the plan. It did exactly what you wanted it to see according to your plan, but yet you didn't pull the trigger. It's most likely because, again, you're considering taking too much size. You're trying to swing for the fences. You're looking for that huge win. Size down, right? If you find yourself hesitating to take a trade right from your trade plan, then you're thinking about taking too much size. Most likely that is the cause of you failing to take the trade. So, you know, on something like Apple, 100 shares is not really that big of a position size. It depends on your account, obviously, but with 100 shares, Apple's not going to really hurt you that bad. Apple would have to rip over a point for you to lose over $100. Okay, so on the option side, it's a little bit different, so maybe one contract or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, you can't hesitate, especially in that first 5 minutes. So I must stress that if you're just beginning trading, I would advise you to stay away from the first 5 minutes. You've really got to get experience to the point where you're no longer hesitating when it comes to initiating your positions and selling your positions. You have to make split-second decisions based on price action and levels that you've marked up on your chart and things like that. So, you know, with that said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to try to keep the videos around 10 minutes. We're a little bit over now, but just wanted to make a video for you because I know it has been a little while. So I hope you were able to get something from this video. Thanks, as always, for watching, guys. Please do trade safe. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.